I had a near-death experience. My soul, or essence, as best described, seemed to surge in that instant, a vivid and substantial feeling. After passing through me, it whooshed out of my skull. I suddenly entered a deep darkness. I was overwhelmed by the unfamiliarity, and I felt uneasy. A swirling gray mist replaced the blackness. In this strange haze, I realized I had crossed the brink of death but was still alive. My thankfulness was indescribable, nearly overwhelming me. I realized that my lifelong hope, that there was life beyond death, was now a reality. I felt grateful to be outside the veil. I sang a secret prayer of thankfulness to the divine, proclaiming that life continues. My thankfulness turned the gray mist into awe-inspiring brilliance. This light surged with an incomprehensible intensity. Within this luminous expanse, things moved and altered, but their significance was unclear. I felt a profound connection, a merger of being and illumination, as the light approached and merged with me. This light was filled with a love that words cannot express. It spoke to my spirit through overpowering divine adoration, not language. "You were my cherished soul," said. "You are loved unconditionally and beyond measure." In this light, I felt ecstatic and peaceful, like I was being held by endless love. I floated in this beautiful cocoon of light and love, overcome by a newfound tranquility. But the sensation continued. My consciousness was filled with a profound knowing rush. I felt like a vessel receiving realities without cognition. I realized my immortality, a presence that had always existed and would endure. The light made me feel indestructible, which connected with me. The light felt holy and its truths were obvious. I was blissfully accepting my everlasting nature, transcending all belief systems. I then received a second chunk of knowledge. This epiphany was that the world is perfect. Not only the world, but all of existence. It was clear. The world operates according to a flawless plan, and this plan is unfolding with perfect precision. I was assured of this knowledge after it settled in. The great design of the planet was perfect. Once I was lost in that bright light, in an ecstasy that seemed unending. Bliss and rapture were ever-present waves that threatened to overwhelm me. A single thought broke the euphoria. I don't know how much more of this I can endure before I shatter. The brightness dimmed as soon as this idea occurred. My ecstasy eventually waned. This change caused disorientation. I was unclear of my surroundings, my experiences felt fragmented, and I couldn't tell if I had been in the light for moments or eons. It took 5 seconds for my bewilderment to fade, and I was on a stunning green meadow. The meadow was lit by a gentler golden light than the dazzling white light I had seen earlier. My surroundings were filled with bright, exotic colors I had never seen before. The plants were flooded in beautiful colors and emitting a calm, interior glow, as if life itself existed within them. The only word to describe my sensation of grandeur as I stood there taking in the magnificence was glorious. A small gathering of 18, 19, or 20 people was visible on a distant low hill. They wore simple, flowing robes in white and other colors beyond description. In small clumps, they seemed to be waiting. I imagined them as helpers waiting for spirits like mine who had entered this peaceful dimension. I was instantly whisked across the meadow to join them and talk to them. I was already there, no need to travel. One of 3 or 4 men approached me, and one, taller and possibly 60 or 65 years old, became my focus. This man was bald, with a white halo around his sides and back. His face was unlike any I had seen, exuding wisdom, compassion, and all-encompassing comprehension. After meeting his eyes, I knew he was telling the truth. Though I couldn't identify him as Jesus, God, or anyone else, he exuded spiritual authority that commanded my confidence. In his purple robe, we communicated without words. Even with a vague understanding of what I wanted to say, he understood it immediately without wording. I acknowledged my condition first. "I understand. I know I died," he replied mentally and non-verbally. "You're right. This is not your time to stay." I looked at him and asked, "I need to ask. All I've seen is beauty, an all-encompassing love I didn't know existed. Everything since I arrived has been lovely and loving. What about my sins? I was only 23, so I didn't have many, but I was raised to love my neighbor and tell the truth. I always thought they'd pay." It was childhood when I first encountered a commandment. Despite never hearing Jesus at home, I murmured it when I fell from my bike. Lying under my bike, I thought, I've taken the Lord's name in vain. I waited for divine punishment, but nothing happened. I stood up and thought, perhaps it doesn't apply to children. I devised a basic sin notion. I repeated, what about my sins? He said, no sins here, not as you know them on earth. Your heart matters. He asked, what is in your heart? I glimpsed my soul, the deepest, most intimate part of me, in a way that transcends description. Some say the heart is the gateway to the soul, and I went there. I saw my true self, perfect, unconditional love. My love reflected the brightness I was in. It was my core, and I realized it was everyone's. We were made in God's likeness. We contained God's essence. It was our actual selves. I thought, yes, how could I forget this? I then asked, since I must return, can you clarify everything? What's the point of creation? He responded, I absolutely understood it in 3 or 4 sentences. I questioned, can I bring this information back? Sharing it with many is my goal. He said, you can keep everything except the answer to your last question. You won't remember. That answered the meaning of everything question, of course. That moment, everything went dark again. A loud bang, bang, bang shocked me like an oven door being slammed repeatedly. It immediately ceased, leaving a deep silence. I heard an electronic click near my ear, which I subsequently learned was linked to near-death experiences. I heard the click, but I didn't feel my spiritual and bodily bodies unite. So I returned. I woke up to my doctor pressing hard on my chest, hurting. Her actions hurt, and I wondered, what are you doing to me? Having given birth before, this method was new to me. I said, I don't mean to be rude, but could you please stop that? All right, I will, she replied with a slight smile. I didn't realize she was doing external heart massage till later. My mother was close friends with her, so I thought, I can't tell her what happened. I worry about ridicule. I felt strongly that this wasn't the time to share my story. Perhaps I told my hubby. Bliss and he reacted with tremendous support. Honey, I don't understand it any more than you do, but if you say it happened, I believe you. That alone was comforting.